Welcome students, welcome back again. So today we are going to start our last chapter of our unit 3, and in this chapter we will study about basic magnetism, and along with that we are going to study about the concept of magnetic field produced by earth also. So the chapter is magnetism, and the concepts which we have to study here. First of all, we will study about bar magnet and its properties, those properties which are applicable to general magnets. Then we will study about current loop as a magnetic dipole and dipole moment, current solenoid equivalent to a bar magnet. This we have already studied in magnetic field lines pattern, that current carrying solenoid and bar magnet produces equivalent magnetic field. Then one Coulomb's law in magnetism is there. Some basic terms in the magnetism which we uses. Then terrestrial magnetism, that means magnetism due to Earth's magnetism, and basic terms we will use. And last, a tangent law. So let's start this. First of all, the term magnetism. Basically, it is the phenomena according to which we study in this term as that substance have tendency to attract magnetic substances like iron, nickel, cobalt, and the substance which has this tendency, that is called magnet. So this phenomena is known as magnetism, where we study about the concept of phenomena of attracting magnetic substances which are iron, nickel, cobalt. So any body which possesses the property of magnetism, that is known as a magnet. And a magnetic pole is a point near the end of the magnet. This is near the end of the magnet where magnetism is concentrated. Basically, whenever we are dealing with any magnet, it will be having certain poles, north and south. Over there, the maximum magnetism will be concentrated, and that will have certain strength. Then Earth is also a natural magnet. It behaves like a bar magnet. If we study about the magnetism of the Earth's field, or we draw the magnetic field lines due to Earth's magnetism, then we come across the magnetic field lines which are similar to that of a bar magnet. So the region around a magnet in which it has tendency to exert force on other magnets or magnetic materials, that is known as the magnetic field. This we have already studied in the previous chapter. Now some basic properties of a bar magnet or a simple magnet. First of all, a freely suspended magnet has very important tendency to align itself along north south direction. Whenever we suspend freely a magnet in the space, then it will come to rest along north south direction only. Then another property is, unlike poles attract and like poles repel each other, the similar property as that of electrostatics. Then magnetic poles always exist in pairs. This is also very important, that always north and south are obtained collectively. Means magnetic poles cannot be separated, or we can say magnetic monopoles do not exist. A magnet can induce magnetism in other magnetic substances. This is the induction property, that along with a magnet, if we keep magnetic substances like iron along with a magnet, then in few minutes it will induce magnetism in the substance. Then it has tendency to attract magnetic substances, and this is the important property, that repulsion is the surest test of magnetism. That means a magnet attracts iron rod as well as opposite pole of other magnet. So therefore it is not a sure test of magnetization. Means suppose a magnet is attracting iron rod as well as magnet is attracting other magnet, and both iron rod and the magnet attracted by the given magnet are similar in physical nature. It is not we are not able to identify which one is magnet and which one is iron rod. But if we observe repulsion, then definitely it will be between two magnets, and hence we can say that magnetization test, for magnetization the surest test is repulsion test. So if required, you can note down this information. So we can move to the next part. Representation of a uniform magnetic field. This is obtained by parallel and equidistant lines. These are the magnetic field lines starting from north, moving to south outside the magnet. And if these are parallel as well as equidistant, they have tendency to exert force uniformly. So uniform field on the plane of the diagram, it may be in inward direction. This cross means inward direction. Similarly, if we draw dot, it will be in outward direction. This red one is uniform field perpendicular and into the plane of the diagram. Cross symbols are there and dot symbols are representing magnetic field uniform and perpendicular outward to the plane of the paper. Now coming to the current carrying loop as a magnetic dipole and dipole moment concept. Suppose we have a current carrying coil having current in clockwise and anti-clockwise direction from the two sides. Here if we observe, this is the direction which we are observing. This is anti-clockwise, while if we observe from this side it will appear as clockwise. So accordingly these two faces will act as two magnetic poles. Here magnetic field will be in this direction. Here we are having a current carrying coil in which current passes in such a way that one face of the coil acts as north pole while another will be behaving as a south pole. So let's see how it is showing. Magnetic field is going from left to right. It is in such a way that if we observe the coil from left side, then it will be clockwise direction. This is the direction in clockwise form, and hence the face will act as south pole. Similarly, the right side will be behaving as anti-clockwise. So it will be behaving as north pole, and hence the combination of the south pole and north pole, this will be behaving as magnetic dipole. Magnetic because of magnetic polarity, di means two, and there are two poles, magnetic dipoles. So that's why we can consider this current carrying loop as a magnetic dipole, and it will be having certain area A. So it's a magnetic dipole moment. It is defined as product of current and area, and then n cap will be the vector which will be giving the direction of magnetic dipole moment. Its SI unit is ampere meter square. Basically magnetic dipole moment depends on current as well as area, so it is proportional to M proportional to IA, and in general it will be M equals to IA. So when we look at one side of the loop carrying current, the current is in anti-clockwise, so it will be north pole. Current in clockwise side, it will be south pole, and hence the combination is acting as magnetic dipole. This is important that in a single coil only, one side is always clock, so another side will be always anti-clock, and hence it will be behaving as a magnetic dipole. So next is current solenoid. Current carrying solenoid is a magnetic dipole or a bar magnet, we can say. This is a solenoid carrying current, and hence left side acts as south, right side acts as north pole, and hence this will be a bar magnet. It's as similar to this. So this is actually a solenoid and this is behaving as a bar magnet, and hence the magnetic field pattern is identical for the two. So moving to the next part, bar magnet. Basically bar magnet is a bar shaped magnet in which we have one side as north pole, another side as south pole, and magnetic dipole moment, it is always from south to north. Its magnetic length is always less than its physical length, or we can say geographical length. Geographical length is the actual length of the bar magnet, while the magnetic poles are slightly inner portion of the ends, and hence its magnetic length is comparatively lesser. So the line joining the poles of the magnet is called magnetic axis, and the distance between the poles of the magnet is called magnetic length of the magnet, and the distance between the ends of the magnet is called geometrical length, or we can say physical length. The ratio of the magnetic length and the geometrical length is always around 0.84. This means magnetic length is 84% of its physical length. So magnetic dipole and dipole moment concept. First of all, magnetic dipole. A pair of magnetic poles of equal and opposite strength, means one should be north, another one should be south, and they should be having same strength, separated by some finite distance, that is known as magnetic dipole. This concept is similar to that of electric dipole. And then dipole moment. The magnitude of the dipole moment is the product of pole strength M, denoted by M, and the separation 2L between the magnetic poles. This is the general formula for magnetic dipole moment, M into 2L multiplied by unit vector, which will be give the direction of magnetic dipole moment, and it is always south to north. SI unit is ampere meter, and direction of dipole moment is from south pole to north pole. This is by general convention, so you can note down this if required. Now the Coulomb's law in magnetism. In electrostatics also we have studied about the concept of Coulomb's law. Here also we have Coulomb's law, but in magnetism, which is similar to that of in electrostatics also, the force of attraction or repulsion between two magnetic poles. Over there we have studied about two charges. Here we have two magnetic poles, and that is directly proportional to the product of their pole strength. First of all, directly proportional to product of their pole strength, and inversely proportional to square of the distance between the two magnetic poles. Suppose there are two magnets having pole strength m1 and m2 and separated by distance r. So the value of force will be proportional to m1 m2. Here this is very important that we should remember that these m1 and m2 are not the masses. These are basically the pole strengths, ability of pole to exert force on the other magnet. This is inversely proportional to r square. 1 by r square it will be. And now on combining and splitting into a constant, we will get f equals to constant into m1 m2 by r square, or this constant will be always the magnetic constant mu naught by 4 pi m1 m2 by r square, product of pole strength divided by distance square. This k is mu naught by 4 pi and is a constant, and we know this, it is magnetic constant. Value is 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7 Tesla ampere inverse meter. If we need to write the expression in vector form, then easily the magnitude multiplied by unit vector will give the expression for vector form. And here the expression can also be written as r cap, can be written as r vector divided by r. So the factor in denominator r square will become r cube, and hence the expression is this. So if required, you can note down this expression. So moving to the next part, magnetic intensity or magnetizing force, a term used in magnetism. Basically, magnetic intensity at a point is the force experienced by a north pole of a unit pole strength placed at that point due to pole strength of the given magnet. Basically, magnetic intensity, we can consider it is the ability of the magnet or magnetic field to exert force on the other magnet. So it is measured as force experienced by a north pole of unit pole strengths placed at the point due to the pole strength of the given magnet. Formula is H equals to B by mu also. Here H is the magnetizing force, B is the applied magnetic field, and mu is the permeability. It is also defined as magnetomotive force per unit length. We can define it in this form also, and it can also be defined as the degree or extent to which a magnetic field can magnetize a substance. Basically, magnetizing intensity or magnetizing force is also defined as the ability of the magnet to magnetize a substance. Stronger the magnet is, stronger will be, the higher will be its ability to magnetize the substance. And another definition is, it can also be defined as the force experienced by a unit positive charge flowing with unit velocity, so that it will be producing unit magnetism in a direction normal to the magnetic field. So SI unit is ampere per meter, or ampere turns per linear meter, we can say. Its CGS unit is Oersted, and another unit is Tesla also. Magnetic field strength, or magnetic field, or magnetic induction, or magnetic flux density, basically now it is magnetic flux density is the number of magnetic lines of force passing normally through a unit area of the substance, and hence we can define it as B is equals to product of mu and H also. So SI unit is Weber per meter square, or Tesla. Then CGS unit is Gauss, and the relation is 1 Gauss is equals to 10 to the power minus 4 Tesla, or we can say 1 Tesla is equals to 10 to the power 4 Gauss. So from here we can say that Tesla is the greater unit with respect to Gauss. You can note down the relation if required. Now the concept of magnetic flux, similarly to that of electric flux, is defined as the number of magnetic field lines passing through normally through the surface. So its SI unit will be Weber, and relation between B and H, magnetic field intensity and magnetizing force, it is B is equals to mu H. Magnetic permeability. Permeability is the term used obtained from word permeable, which means to allow. So here also it is similar to that of epsilon. Permittivity. So magnetic permeability means it is the degree or extent to which magnetic lines of force can pass or enter through a substance. Greater the permeability, greater will be the allowance by the substance for the magnetic field lines. SI unit is Tesla ampere inverse meter, or Weber per ampere per meter, or Henry per meter also. Then relative magnetic permeability, it will be the magnetic permeability of the substance with respect to air, that means mu naught. It is the ratio of magnetic flux density in material to that in vacuum. It can also be defined as the ratio of absolute permeability of the material to that in vacuum. So mu r will be either B upon B naught or mu upon mu naught. So if required, you can note down these relations, and then we can move to the next part. Terrestrial magnetism on the terrestrial means geographical level. So here one term is geographic axis. It is a straight line passing through the geographical north pole and south pole of the earth's polarity, or we can say it is the axis of rotation of the earth, also known as polar axis. Next is geographic meridian. This is basically, it is any place in a vertical plane passing through the geographic north-south poles of the earth, or we can say it is a vertical plane passing through geographic axis also. Then geographic equator, it is a great circle on the surface of the earth in a plane perpendicular to the geographic axis, and all the points on the geographic equator are at equal distances from the geographic poles on both sides. And magnetic axis, it is a straight line passing through the magnetic poles of the earth, and it is inclined to geographic axis nearly at an angle of 17 degree. Then similarly, magnetic meridian, it will be the place or a vertical plane passing through the magnetic axis, or we can say magnetic north and south poles of the earth. Then similarly, magnetic equator, it is a great circle on the surface of earth in a plane, this is important, in a plane perpendicular to the magnetic axis, and all the points on the magnetic equator are at equal distances from the magnetic poles. This is also on both sides. So you can note down these relations or terms if required. We can move to the next. Magnetic declination, or simply declination, denoted by theta. Suppose this is a geographic meridian, vertical plane passing through geographic axis, and this is the magnetic meridian, which is the plane passing through the vertical plane passing through the magnetic axis. So the angle between the two, it is treated as declination. The angle between the magnetic meridian and the geographic meridian at a place, this is known as declination at the place, and it varies from place to place. So lines shown on the map through the places that have the same declination, they are called isogonic lines. Similarly, the lines drawn through the places which have zero declination, they are called agonic lines. This is the first term, declination, which is required to explain Earth's magnetism. These are basically the elements of Earth's magnetism. Now coming to the second part, dip or inclination, or we can say angle of dip or angle of inclination, denoted by del. This is basically the direction of Earth's magnetism. This one is Earth's magnetic field. We can see it as BE, E for Earth. Earth's magnetism, it is having certain direction in the space. So this Earth's magnetism is making certain angle in the horizontal line del, that is known as dip or inclination. So in this way we can represent B vector. At this B vector we have resolved in vertical component. This one is vertical component and this one is horizontal component. So we can say the angle between the horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field and the Earth's resultant magnetic field at a place is called dip or inclination at that place. So formula can be expressed in the form of del. So its value will be 0 obviously at equator, because Earth's magnetic field will be totally inclined towards parallel to the horizontal direction, and hence angle will be 0 degree. And similarly the magnetic field of Earth will be perpendicular to the surface, so hence it will be at 90 degree at the poles. Lines drawn up on a map through the places that have same dip angle are called isoclinic lines. Similarly, the lines drawn through the places that have zero dip is known as aclinic lines. This is along the magnetic equator. And note down this if required. Horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field, already shown in the previous diagram. This is the horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field. So the total intensity of Earth's magnetic field does not lie on any horizontal plane. Basically, it lies along the direction at an angle of dip, del angle, to the horizontal. So the component of Earth's magnetic field along the horizontal at an angle del, this is called horizontal component. So formula can be written as B cos del, where B is the Earth's magnetic field. And similarly, vertical component, if required, we can write it as BV, which is B sin del. And here this BH can also be treated as H. This is known as horizontal component. We can write it as H also in capital. Similarly, vertical component can be written as V also. So it will be equal to B or BE sin del. And such that if we take the square and sum on both the sides, we will get total intensity of Earth's magnetic field equivalent to this relation, where this is equals to under root of the entire expression, under root of BH square plus BV square. This whole expression is within under root. Now the tangent law, the last topic. Suppose we have a magnetic needle and B1 is the direction of a magnetic field, then another magnetic field is B2 perpendicular to it. So resultant will be B. Magnetic needle will be aligned across the resultant field. And now if magnetic needle is suspended in a region where two uniform magnetic fields are perpendicular to each other, suppose, then the needle will align itself along the direction of the resultant field of the two fields at an angle theta, such that tangent of the angle, yeah, means tan theta of that angle, is the ratio of the two fields. So tan theta will be B2 upon B1. This is called the tangent law. So this is all about magnetism or Earth's magnetism. The important concept is magnetic field of Earth and its elements, which are dip angle, magnetic inclination, magnetic declination, and horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field. So you should focus on these topics mainly. So with this we have completed our unit 3, and all the important topics we have already discussed. Now this is the time to prepare this unit also well for your board examinations. We will discuss a few more topics from the next unit in the next class. Till then, take care. Goodbye.